right. Okay. First things first. Do we have sound? All right. Let's get the show on the road here. Folks, I'm just getting set up. So if this thing actually goes live like it should and everything works out, then we'll be rocking and rolling. Okay, I did a sound check. I can't even speak. So there you go. Sound check done. And I think I'll look at some questions while we're doing a little warm up here. In fact, let me see what I can do. Maybe I can share that with you guys as we wait for everyone to show up. I got 7 of you now, so that's good because I'm starting early today. So right on. Hey guys, how are you doing? Tell me where you're at, who's watching, so I know who I'm talking to. And I'm going to see maybe I can do a couple things tonight because it's been a while. So one of them is I was thinking about going through some questions that I've had and maybe using some of those tonight. So we will see how those go. So we'll pop those in there. Hey, buddy. Semper Fi. Donnie Hopkins, nice to see you. South Carolina. What's the temperature like down there? It was 57 degrees up here today. It was like a nice spring day. I'm telling you, it was awesome. All right. Yeah, it is a good Sunday. I'm ready to get back to work. Mark Younger, BC, Canada. Where you at in BC? You know, what's really funny is I'm vice president of a 4x4 club, and I've been working on some stuff for 2026, and it got me thinking about all the places that I've been camping. And I actually posted a bunch of pictures, and one of those was from Vanderhoof, one Lac La Hache, probably some Chetwynd. I grew up all over BC, so you'll hear it. I'm actually from the US, but I grew up in BC and moved back. So anyway, you'll hear it now and then. You'll hear the odd process and progress anyway. Mid 50s, 70s next week. I could dig it. I would love some 70s, let me tell you. Hoorah, big guy. Let's see, a tad bit of rain. So you didn't, yeah, and you missed the big snow. That's good. All right. So we got Donnie with mid 50s in South Carolina. My daughter lives in South Carolina. And they're so busy. I don't hear from them very much. And today, guys, I'm going to give away some memberships. It's been a while. How long has it been since I did a live? I know I've been negligent here. Let me go look. I don't know. How long has it been here? November 9th. Well, it's not quite 2 months. You know, I actually, for the first time in a very long time, took some time off this Christmas and New Year's. You probably noticed that, where I went from 2 videos a week to 3 videos a week, then back to 2, and then 1. And then I think I even skipped a week in there. So, but I have more coming. I've got testing. I'm working on some testing right now. Oh, I'm working on a few different things. And in fact, I was going to bring up my new Pecron cable and show it to you tonight, but I forgot to grab it. It's an interesting cable. It's XT120 on one part, and the other side is the type of connector they use for the Pecron, like the E1500 LFP. So I got to get the E1500 back from my buddy so I can see what happens when I plug those in on both ends. I believe they made that cable so that you can plug in the same batteries you use on the Pecron E1500 with the Pecron E3000 LFP. It's kind of different platforms. But I thought, yeah, but that's the same cable that would plug into the Pecron. I wonder how that would work if I just went 2 power stations bang to bang like that, and then cut the center out of it and wire that into some big batteries. So that's something I'm working on. I'm actually working on some diesel heater stuff because, you know, there was a lot of comments about diesel heaters and how they can't run on cigarette lighter ports on power stations like I just showed. And I thought, okay, let me do some more testing. And so I actually bought myself a new amp clamp. My old amp clamp, which was probably 20 years old, didn't seem to be working anymore. And so I went ahead and I bought a Fluke. Yeah, that hurt. But but I thought, okay, let's get a good one. And I'm going to be doing some amp testing, and I'm going to do it in some different environments, different power stations, different batteries, different diesel heaters. So I think that'll be kind of fun, and I'll bring the results to you. The one thing I noticed right away, though, and people talk about it a lot, but I haven't done the testing myself, and that is that 12-volt cigarette lighter ports are often unregulated, which I'm not sure if they know what regulated really means when they say that. But you know, a 12-volt battery isn't 12 volts. So if you have a 12-volt port, I suppose by regulated, they mean that it would be restricted to 12 or 12.8 volts or whatever. It should be like 12.6 or 12.8. But I've noticed that they can range from 12.4 to 13.1 volts so far in the few that I've already tested, which I found interesting. And that can make a difference. Because if you're running a 12-volt cigarette lighter port at 130 volts, at 13.3 volts, and you're drawing 10 amps, so that's 131 watts. And that could be different versus one that's exactly 12 volts and you're only getting 120 watts out of. So anyway, that's some testing I'm doing. JS0 Gmail. Northern California, Area 51. Oh, Northern Bay Area. Sorry, I saw Area 51. I thought, oh, you're down there with the aliens. So Bay Area, 51 degrees with a sprinkle of flooding. A sprinkle of flooding. Sprinkle of flooding. If you're in the Bay Area, to me, that was always that area that if you went to in the wintertime, it was like just warm and sunny, and you could go to the beach, and it was great, you know. Freedom rocks. I agree with that statement. My RL Power 6248 volt inverter was canceled by the seller. No explanation. What's an RL? I've never heard of RL Power, but that sucks. I mean, as long as you got your money. I'll tell you something though. I ordered some XT120s for testing with the Pecron, and I had planned on building my own cables. And those got canceled, and Amazon threatened to cancel them actually because the seller wasn't communicating, and they just never shipped them. And so that order got canceled, and I was kind of ticked about that. But, you know, so much stuff is made over there, and they don't always communicate very well. So Happy New Year, Real Bill BP. Absolutely. To all of you. Let's see what else we got here. Who else do we have online? We're getting there. Let's see, Donnie, we mentioned you. Who else do we have now? Also, I'm gonna give you the same. Thomas Henderson, Happy New Year too. Another year of BC Boys rock. You know, and I think there's something different about growing up in BC. Now, I don't count Vancouver, frankly. That's come on, really, Vancouver. I mean, there's trees there, but that ain't like the rest of BC, even Victoria. And then Nanaimo's getting kind of big now, right? But I mean, if you get out there to places I lived in Ocean Falls, for crying out loud. And if you guys don't know where Ocean Falls is, just imagine the middle of absolutely nowhere with no roads getting there or leaving there, and hundreds of miles between you and the nearest town, with the only thing between you and those towns, hundreds and hundreds of miles away, that you have to fly to or take a boat to, or just grizzly bears and wolves and cougars and things. That's BC. And that's like a last frontier kind of world, right? You're out in the middle of nowhere. You better be able to survive. Being disabled, I don't have a lot of money. Hey, I hear you, brother. Slowly building out a system. Wish I could afford an Ames. Well, you know, I like Ames. Ames has done me well. In fact, my Ames is still sitting in the back room at the cabin as a backup, just in case if that SGP tanks on me, which I'm not sure. I need to do some more testing on it because it's acting kind of funny. So I'm not sure. I may be putting the Ames back in. And on the charger side, there's something weird going on with that SunGold power. It seemed like if I tried to crank it up, it didn't like it. So I actually kind of turned it down to about 30 amps versus the 50 it should do. and I need to do some more testing with that. So, but the Ames is rock solid. But if you don't need the big low frequency inverter, then there's a lot of good companies out there that make high frequency inverters that work just fine. So JBA68, hello amigo, thanks for the advice, happy new year, and keep on trucking. Hey, you too, whatever advice I gave you. The only way to get in is a parachute, yes, or a hot air balloon. That's Ocean Falls. Yes. You can get in by boat. In fact, there's a YouTube channel. If you guys have never watched him, check out Destination Adventure. The guy's a great guy. He lives somewhere near Williams Lake, BC, which is almost in the middle. Now, Vanderhoof is the middle of BC. Many people call Vanderhoof the armpit of BC. It's the middle of absolutely effing nowhere, right? Like, I mean, seriously. Your next door neighbors are bears and moose, but you're in the middle of nowhere in Vanderhoof. And we homesteaded a piece of property there in 1967. So, it's like the old West. But this guy, he's out of Williams Lake, which is a little bit further south, still very cold. And he went to Ocean Falls for 16 days and did some great videos out of Ocean Falls. It's basically a ghost town now, not totally, but kind of. And it's pretty cool. But when I lived there, we used to say there were 999 people and 1,000 bears. So, and it rained more than you can imagine. Oh, great. Yeah, all over BC. Yeah, ghost towns. Yeah, his one up there at Kitsault was pretty cool. And that's, I mean, I grew up all over BC, so it's kind of cool to watch the show. And I like him. Good guy. Dustin Porter, I think is his name. Seemed like a pretty good guy. But anyway, today we're getting there. It's 7 minutes after. My first rule of thumb, folks, I don't do lives with an agenda. So it's just whatever we want to talk about. That's what we're going to talk about. So number one, I try to answer every question that you ask. So if you put a question in the chat section, I'm going to see that. If you put it in the comments, I won't see it now. So I won't be able to answer it on my live. I need to see it in chat because that's the only thing I can really look at. I try to look at comments, but it's harder to do when you're doing a live. So put it in chat. Ask any questions you got. I will try my best to answer those questions. I don't know everything, so I'll do my best. But ask away, absolutely. And I thought I would talk a little bit about where we're going in the new year. Obviously, I've taken a bit of a break, so I didn't have my regular 2+ videos a week going out. But don't worry, I've been working on some videos. I did take some time off though. So right now, in fact, right now, my AFRI P280 with extra battery is now fully charged again. I was doing my second drain test on it, and the funny thing is that the way they've built it, they put the expansion battery cable right above their 120 volt ports, and so I could not put my watt meter directly on the power station on those ports. So I had to go find an extension cord. Well, I got lots of extension cords, but I just couldn't find them all. So finally I found a really long one that I've got, and I brought it down there, plugged it in, and then I couldn't get any power at the end of it. So I messed around with it for a while. I finally got some power out of it, but I never checked the voltage, and turned everything on, walked away, let it drain. That's all I'm doing. Just running my ceramic heater. It's 4 kilowatts of battery power, 4 kilowatt hours. So it's going to take a while. Well, when I go back down there to check it, it was only putting out like 800 watts. And I thought, what the heck is going on now? Well, it turns out that extension cord was not making very good connection. And so no matter what, it was getting like 113 volts at the end of the extension cord. It was only putting out like 800 watts. So I pulled that extension cord and put on a short, much better quality extension cord with like 3 ends on it, plugged everything together, and boom, 120 volts, 1100 watts, no problem, ran like a champ. So had to completely ran the complete drain test, which gave some weird results, and then in charging it back up. So it should have finished charging actually right about now. And so then I'm going to do another drain test on it with the new extension cord. This is what goes into these videos in case you're curious. So I'm going to kill the dang thing again, then charge it back up again, and then we're going to do some other things with it. So that'll be kind of fun. So that'll probably be a video in about a week from now. I've got another video that is ready to finish producing for Tuesday. So I will have a video out Tuesday. And then I have right here this crazy thing. I don't know. This is some kind of new battery that you just put some water in it and some kind of, I don't know what it is, electrolyte or something, and you've got a battery. And you can supposedly just take that with you without any water in it at all and go get some water out of a stream or something and stick it in that thing and have a battery to charge up your stuff if you're out in the woods or whatever. So I haven't played with it yet. I actually broke part of it. It's great stuff, right? I have this thumb brace that I have to wear sometimes because I've got arthritis. You've probably seen it in my videos. You've seen me running around with this thing. Well, when I was opening that thing up, one of the tabs caught right underneath this hard plastic right here and snapped it in half. So I sent him a note and I just said, hey, sorry, I broke the dang thing. And they actually said, we'll ship you one right now. If you want, we'll send you one right now. No problem. We'll just ship it to you. I told him, no, I mean, it should still work. Everything seems fine. I could probably glue it back together. It's my fault it broke. It's fine. So in my FozzieBot video, where I mentioned that there was a company that did that, well, that's the company. And so I've actually had that a little while. I just haven't had a chance to play with it because I wanted to take a little bit of time off over Christmas. So I'm going to be starting to work on that here pretty soon. I'm working on, weather permitting and body permitting, I'm working on my movable solar arrays. So I've got a bit more work to get my first one done, and then I can start putting panels on it and then hooking those up to my system in my shop. So I should be doing that pretty soon. So kind of a lot of stuff going on between the AFRI P280 expansion battery and hacking that, the Pecron doing that, this crazy new battery. And then FozzieBot did tell me that I'm a priority. It's been over a month though. So come on, really? I'm not much of a priority if it takes you a month to get a broken power station fixed for me. But they say there's going to be a new one sent my way soon. Checks in the mail, right? But when I get that, which I'm sure they're going to send it to me, it's just taking a long time. But when I get it, I will be looking at expanding that as well. That was the whole reason I agreed to get one of those in the first place, was because several viewers asked me about doing that. So I'm going to do that too. So lots coming and more out at the cabin, lots of plans out there. So in fact, some of the solar panels, I bought 10 solar panels from Signature Solar. I broke one of those. Actually, well, I didn't break one. The shippers broke one, but Signature Solar took care of me right away. And I just kept 9 of them and they gave me credit for the 10th. But 3 of those are going to the cabin. So that'll be fun because that'll take my 2,400 watts of solar and bump that up to over 3,000 watts of solar. So that'll be really nice. Not that I really need it, but in the summer, it's going to make running my air conditioning a little bit nicer, I think. So that'll be good. All right. Where are we at? Can you make a video? Okay, let me look at some of your questions here now because I've been going on for a little bit. Let's see. Let's see. Thanks for the advice. Okay. Can you make a video of that testing? Which testing? I'm guessing you mean the drain testing and everything on the AFRI AM. I always try to film some of the testing that I'm doing so that when I make a video, I can show you that during the video. So absolutely, that's in the works. Let's see. Stumbled on this by luck. Actually, no offense, but I got to run. Love your work, especially the Wood Miser stuff. Mark Younger gang. Sorry. Talk to you later. And don't worry, more sawmill stuff coming too. Ozzy can kiss my grits. Right? Did not like me asking questions at all. Yeah. I honestly think that, and they're a fairly new company. Maybe they need to learn a few things, because I personally think open honesty is the most important thing. And people actually respond well to that, right? Like if you're just be honest, hey, it broke. We're going to fix that. And companies that say, oh yeah, we have a problem, let me fix it, are companies that customers will go, oh, well, they actually give a damn and stick and become loyal customers. So I think that's important. And yeah, if somebody asks some questions, well, Let's see. One posted on poor customer service. The ripple effect hurts their sales and reputation. Yes, it does. Absolutely. And I mean, unfortunately, if somebody with a YouTube channel and millions of views posts a video about it, that can really hurt and it can upset them. But I'm going to be honest. Honestly, I do this because I enjoy doing it. I enjoy sharing information. I'm going to tell you guys something new that's going on. And that is, I've been talking to Will Pros. A lot of you guys watch Will. He put out a video, and by talking, I mean online, by the way. But he put out a video not too long ago about how he deals with companies. And it was really close to what I've been doing. And I thought, okay, this is good stuff. I need to take a closer look at what he's doing. And so I actually started working on my own kind of agreement with companies, because one of the things that he said that really struck me, it's the same as for me. I don't need more power stations, right? I don't, you know, if somebody wants to send me a power station, I don't need one. If I get it, it's because somebody's asked me about it or I'm curious, and then I'm going to tell you what I think, period. There's no reason for me not to. If I wanted to, if I was just doing this for power stations, well, I'd quit now. Actually, I would have quit last year because I got plenty of them. I don't need more. I give them away. So I really liked what Will had to say. And so I've been on his forum for a while now. And I've been posting some stuff and he's been responding in his thread on that kind of stuff. And it's been quite enlightening, because I was already trying to deal with companies kind of the way he says to deal with them. And if you don't know, it's basically, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I'm going to be honest. I have to be plain and simple. You know, I'm going to give it away. And one of the lines in his agreement is, I do not need the equipment, right? Which is true. I don't. And so that really struck me as a good point to make with these companies. You want to send me a battery? Fine. But if I think there's something wrong with it, I'm going to tell people I think there's something wrong with it. And I don't need the battery. It's not like you're doing me a favor by sending me the battery, right? So anyway, dumb fume. Oh, it's blowing me away. Tell me about, let's go. Let me back up and find out where you're at. Not a bad idea. Let's see. What is a good inexpensive battery for solar? Dumb fume, I don't know. I haven't tested them. They've asked me, but they don't always like what I have to say, I think, though I don't always go one way or another. I'm going to be honest with you. XZNY has been good to me. Cycle and Bat has been good. Watt Cycle has been good, but their Watt Cycle 314, Will Pros found some issues with. So it doesn't like to parallel. And so if you're trying to build a system, I don't think I would use the Watt Cycle. I've had no problem with the XCMYs. I've had no problem with lead time. Lead time's very popular in the overland world. Lots and lots of overland rigs use lead time. I don't think lead time actually makes their own batteries, just like a lot of these companies don't, folks. A lot of these companies design what they want, which is very similar to what everybody else wants, and then they send it to a company that manufactures those things, and they put their label on it, and then they sell it as their item. There's not a lot of companies that build their own. You see that sometimes here as well. For example, when Big Battery made the Big Battery Mule, and if you haven't heard about the Big Battery store, apparently the guy that built Outback, which had Outback was like the Victron of 20 years ago. And that guy apparently left Outback and started the Big Battery store, and they were making batteries quite possibly solely in the US. I know at one time they said their batteries were made in the US. Well, at the same time, Battery Evo was selling some of the same batteries with the Battery Evo tag on them. So, you will see that. But good. I'm glad Watt Cycle updated the app and fixed that problem. That is good. They needed to do that. So anyway, XCNY lead time, those Vatra batteries, I have not had. In fact, I have probably the longest running LifePo 4s I have are my Big Battery Mules. The Big Battery Mules are expensive, so they're not they were expensive. They don't make them anymore, but they were $1,200 a battery for 120 amp hour, 24 volt batteries. They still work fine, though I've noticed some weird things with the displays on them. So I'm not sure if the display is going to last as long as the batteries should. I need to talk to Big Battery about that. But when I disconnect each one and check the voltage on them, they're all exactly the same. So at least I know they're properly paralleling and charging and discharging together, or they wouldn't have been. But for less expensive, my next longest duration use battery is probably my heated Vetter 12.8 volt LifePo 4s in my camper. They stay there. I keep it plugged into my house, so it's got the power to run the heaters in the wintertime, and I have no problem with those. They seem to work perfectly fine. So I personally think those companies, Vetter, XCNY, Lead Time, they make good batteries. Nothing wrong with those. Let's see. Works great. Reviews gain them sales. Not sure. I'm not the only one who bought an Opus based on your videos. Opus has been good. Opus is supposedly shipping more B2 cables to the US, and they know the reason they went out of cables is because some guy, it goes by the Old Jarhead on YouTube, showed a whole bunch of people how to it's actually funny. I was communicating with them about their DC charger, actually, and they said, hey guys, I just got to ask, like, you're out of B2 cables, and I get it, right? Like, maybe you don't really want to sell them but individually, because I've shown people what to do with them in this video, which has like 11,000 views. And they said, nope, actually, we like that video and we have more on the way. We're shipping, we've made more, we're shipping them on the way. So I think the frustration with Opus B2 cables is that we just bought them all. And and let's face it, they probably had, they might have only had 500 or 1,000 spare cables, and because they would sell the rest of them with their battery packs, so they probably didn't have that many individual cables that they would sell to you or me or anybody, right? And so some crazy jarhead comes out and says, I wonder what happens if I cut the end of this cable off, which I wish I had thought like some of you and cut the cable in the middle back then. But I'm kind of rush into the burning building kind of guy, right? Just whack the end off and put some ring terminals on and plug it in and see what happens. And oh, look, it worked. It sold out all their cables. So Opus has been good. And that is the power station I run in my Jeep right now. Just had it out in the woods on a snow wheeling trip. And that was kind of a crazy trip, but and I've beat the heck out of that thing. In fact, I did a video on the diesel heaters, and the reason that I use the Opus in that video is because it's sitting right there in my Jeep. All I got to do is pull it out of the back of my Jeep and hook everything up, fire it up, and away we go. I like that one, and I've been using it for over a year without a problem, and that one's been all over. So of my friends, at 5 or 6 or 7 of them, my personal friends, have the Opus Mega 1s. One of them did have a problem, but Opus took care of them, and they haven't had a problem since. So good machine. Now, I mean, I haven't had a problem with a lot of my other ones either. I just happen to like that little machine. So let's see what else we got here. Let's get back to what you guys are posting here. I'll take a power station. Dale, let's see. I'm tough with hey, wait, let me do something, guys. Let me give some memberships away. So for those that don't know, they let us give away like 10 memberships a month. And they're typically, what I do with videos is when I get a video done, I put it out, and then it'll be out to members first, and then eventually go out to everyone. Now, sometimes I may actually change that video and then put it out again and leave the initial one as members only, and then put the new one out to everybody. But I also post some other things just for members. It's like an insiders thing. So members support the channel, and thank you all that are members for that. I appreciate it. So I try to share stuff with them as well, but they get to see videos early. There's also a lot of videos that I just have turned off for one reason or another. Some of them are just old videos that were back when before I was learning how to do, when I was just making really crappy, like terribly crappy videos. When I first thought I was going to do YouTube for real and not just for my grandsons, I put a camera on the front of my Jeep and drove around. I thought that was cool. Not at all. You learn the hard way sometimes. All right. Eco-worthy 48 volt, 100 amp. Yeah, I mean, I've heard people like eco-worthy. I'm not sure. I don't know if eco-worthy, Renogy, lead time, they're probably about the same. Honestly, I'm going to tell you about batteries. I'm not the battery guy. The guy that's the battery guy is Will Pros. So if you think you want to get a specific battery, go to Will Pro's YouTube channel, because he's going to cut it apart and look at all of the insides of that battery, test everything, every possible aspect. He is the battery guy. If I'm even thinking about batteries, I actually will go check and see what Will Pros is doing. So don't, and I have no problem telling you that. Just check out what Will Pros is doing and what he's telling you. EV grade A cells to put 312 amp hours out of a 300 amp hour. I'm quite impressed. Oh, is that the eco-worthy? Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, any LifePo 4 battery that doesn't have a minimum of 4,000 cycles to 80% isn't even worth looking at. Power stations should have that. Anytime I see a power station where they say 3,500 cycles, I think All Powers does that. I immediately go, you're not using EV grade cells, right? So something to think about. 300 a piece for a 48 volt. Oh, 300 amp hour battery. Okay, that's different. All right. Exactly why I started contacting you. They were going to ship me one from China, but want 250 for shipping. Oh, a cable. Is that what you're talking about? You're not the one up in BC, are you? I mean, 250 for shipping. That's crazy. No. They are going to get new cables in. And if you're wondering why I'm looking over here, that's where all the chats are. So far, the cheap Chinese offerings are working for me on 5 systems. Yeah, Chins, Redodio. Yeah, Redodio's been good. Cycle and Bat. Now, I'm going to tell you guys that I think the Chinese, for the most part, have got the battery thing down. So, I mean, it might not have been that way 10 years ago, but it sure is that way now. So, yeah, he won that battery. All right. MC4 connector barrel will fit over the pin on the Opus. Yeah, you were saying that before. No need for the B2 cable. I haven't tested that, but I don't doubt what you're saying at all. I was looking and looking and looking for the Opus B2 cable connector. Could not find it. I mean, it just could not find that. All right, let's see. Well, I did give 5 away. Let's see who got those. And we'll do more. Let's see. Greg's Drone Services, Felix Chow, Rolex, Mr. Dyke M, Richard Dondo. You were the ones that all got those, so we're going to do it again. So hold on. Let's give the next 5 away. Boom. There we go. Done. All right. Sweet. Okay. And so that went out to Island Electric, Morse Code, Jeff Davis, Denny Maggard, Dick Bachman. So one thing about the gifted memberships is that I don't get to choose. And so they're totally random. So with 29,500 plus subs, there's going to be 10 in those that are going to get them. So I wish they would do it with whoever's online, frankly. Let's see. You also slid 2 Opus Mega 2s, 1 and 2, and an extra battery for the bunkhouse with the hack. Oh, you did. In the middle for each unit, it's a 48 volt. Nice. Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, a lot of guys don't, I don't think, I think when you merge do it yourself with power stations, it gets kind of crazy, because then we start going, well, what can you really do here? I've actually thought about taking a power station and disconnecting the inverter from the onboard battery and then connecting that inverter to a separate battery and just seeing if I could just do that, right? Well, why not? Just for fun. And I'm not a very good solderer, so if I was a little better at soldering, I used to actually do pretty well, but it was like over 20 years ago, and I primarily only did it in a telecommunications central office environment where we used to solder on the lights on DS3 ports. Nothing major, really. I've never been like a really neat like, I'm not a neat wiring person. You don't want me to do your wiring. It's going to look terrible. It'll work. I'll make it work, even if nobody else ever has. But yeah, anyway, looking for another solar charge controller for my truck camper to replace my Go Power. Like your comparison, Victor, on lead time. I saw HQST is selling their 60 amp controller. Yeah, and they might be the ones that make the lead time. Now, I will tell you this: I bought a Victron. So I bought that Victron. I sent that one back. I think it was the 135, because I found out that that particular charge controller has an overheating problem. There's a couple of theirs that have overheating problems. And I also learned from Matt, I think you guys have seen him commenting on a lot of my videos, Junker, something or other he goes by. Pretty smart guy, really knows way more than I do. It makes me a hack. But he's talked about how Victron has some old stock that you can't differentiate between the new stuff and the old stuff. They don't tell you that this is stuff we made years ago and isn't the greatest. So you're kind of hit and miss sometimes on those. But the one that I bought is a newer one. I can't remember. I think it's a 150 45 or 50 or something like that. I'd have to look it up, but that's actually going to go to the cabin and replace the bateria charge controller. So one of the things about charge controllers, if you're desperate for one, you can always look at something like the bateria, $100. It's a 60 amp charge controller. We'll do 12, 24, 36, 48, and I actually believe 36, 48 volt battery systems. So pretty flexible. It works. I've got the Bluetooth app. I've had it for year and a half now. I think works fine, still works. So I mean, I don't think it's going to last as long as like my Morningstar or my Outback will, or maybe Victron or something like that, but for $100 it works. But for a van build, it's kind of a lead time works. I think that the people that argue that Victron has a better algorithm, probably correct. I'm not an analysis paralysis kind of guy. So for me, it's all about what's going to do the job that I need it to do for the money I can afford to do it. And when I built my system at the cabin and I put in the Xantrex controller, well, Xantrex made good controllers in those days. I guess they still do. I think they're Schneider Electric now. And then I switched to Morningstar because I really needed to go to MPPT, and Morningstar's rock solid. That thing probably still would run today. I took it out to put that bateria in and test that bateria, but the Morningstar was working just fine. And then when I went to another one, it was Outback. Outback was the thing to go to. They were expensive, but now all these years later, still work fine. And I know guys that have systems with those brands in them to this day that have been running them now for 20 years. So you can spend the money, get the Victrons or the Morningstars or the Midnight Solars or Schneider Electric or whatever. And you might get longevity that you might not get out of a lead time. I mean, I don't know. And here's the one thing I'm going to tell you. I haven't run a lead time for 10 years, so I can't tell you that the lead time is going to do that. It doesn't mean it won't. It just means I haven't done it. Okay. Let's see. 449 is why Eco 30 is a good deal. Okay. For a 100 amp hour 48 volt. Yeah. Especially if it's a 51.2 volt. Oh, 449 Canadian. Oh, that's even better. Wow. That must not be their 48 volt 100 amp hour one. PEZ expansion cable. Let's see. Oh, okay. That's what I thought. Any options on anchor power stations? So I haven't tested anchors. I've heard that people are doing it. Here's the thing. I think I think every power station you can expand if it has an expansion cable, except that if it's a Jackery or an All Powers and possibly some of the others, they're not using 16 cells in series. They're using either 14 or 15. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. And that means that their batteries are not 51.2 volt batteries. So you should not parallel a 51.2 volt battery to, for example, a Jackery. So when I say you can do it, well, that would mean you'd have to actually make a S14 or S15 battery, depending on what they're using. I think they're S14s. 44.8 volts is what I think they are. So, but I think Anchor you can do. YouTube hates me. Oh, YouTube doesn't hate you. Jasonoid places US on the Opus, accepting MC4 connections, working equals a trusted YouTuber. Yeah, no, Jasonoid's very, yeah, absolutely. Actually, Jasonoid gave me credit for the Opus mod as well as a couple other guys. I'm the guy that started that, I guess. But yeah, no, that's good. If he says you can do that, then I mean you're absolutely you're good to go. Pecron F3000 arrives tomorrow and finished our 24 volt 2000 watt inverter, almost 8 kilowatt hours. Nice. That's awesome. I like the Pecron stuff. I mean, I beat the hell out of it. So I think they work pretty good, and I like the 3000. I've got some work going on that. Yes, Vicious Computers. Now, Vicious Computers is definitely doing things at a higher level. I hope to see that video come out. I haven't seen it yet, but he's not doing just a simple resistor hack on the EcoFlows. He's actually making a box that you would plug their cable into and then run that from the box to a battery, and everything's built into that box. So you could turn it on and off like a breaker. It has the resistor built into it to fool the CAN bus, the whole 9 yards. That's going to be pretty cool when he gets that done. Anchor Solic 800 plus. It has the magnetic flashlights. It's not big, but great for camping. Yeah. And the thing about that is if you've got one of those and it's working for camping, you can pick up something like the Cyclone Bat 12.8 volt 100 amp hour mini battery, the little mini one. I think Great Dane has that one, little Bluetooth battery, right? And that'll give you another 1280 watt hours that you could just stick into the solar port on that unit and extend its runtime camping that way. So absolutely do that. Hi, Doug and Marianne. Happy New Year to you guys too. How's that Pecron working out for you? Everybody say hi to Doug and Marianne. They're great folks back in New Jersey. They're the ones that got that Pecron. Pecron just took care of them. So super awesome of Pecron to do that. And by the way, Doug and Marianne, my wife says Merry Christmas too. So Darcy says Merry Christmas. She's hiding in the back over there doing some sewing. Have I ever looked at the iMon Tech 1200? No. Suitcase type. No, I'm not familiar with it at all. Is it a power station? I'm guessing you're saying. Let's see. And if you add another, then you get the 120 240 split phase 5,000 watt 500 piece or something. You're talking about inverters. So I don't do all-in-ones typically. If that's an all-in-one system, if it's just a big inverter, not, I don't need that much. So at the cabin, no, at my shop, I would look at a much bigger one. But at the cabin, I actually think my 4,000 watt inverter is too big for 90% of what I do. I put it in for a reason. The thinking back then was I'm going to run table saws and planers and routers and all kinds of things. So I want a big enough inverter that can handle all those heavy loads. If I want to run an air conditioner, whatever, I can run those heavy loads off of that unit, air compressors, whatever, without worry. So that's why I went with a 4,000 watt pure sine wave inverter charger, low frequency. It's worked well for me. And I do run an air conditioning unit off of it now in the summertime. I didn't have AC for years, but I do now. But I've noticed that the idle power consumption on that Sun Gold power, they say it's like 48 watts. I think it's like 100. And maybe it is 48 if it's doing nothing. But, if it's on, your fridge is cycling on and off, your lights are on. I think it uses like 100 watts at cycle. And I say that because I was able to run the cabin on the Jackery. So if I can run the cabin on the Jackery and my draw outside of using the inverter is next to nothing. I mean, I think I used like just over 4,000 watt hours in a weekend, which means that I should be able to run my entire cabin on the battery bank that I have and still be at 60% after the weekend without using any solar to charge it back up. And that just isn't the case, right? I'm using 25%, 30% overnight, just overnight sometimes. And I think it's that big inverter. So I'm looking at getting a smaller inverter and maybe doing like some bypass circuits. So I have the big inverter for the things that I need it for, but I can just turn that one off and use like 1,000 watt or maybe a 1,500 watt pure sine wave inverter that'll just run, everything else and run it at a low idle. Though I know that I want to say it was the EG4, either EG4 or Victron all-in-one system had an idle consumption supposedly of like 8 watts. I'm just not a fan of all-in-ones. I know I put one in my shop. That's more of an experiment than anything else. I'm not really a fan of those because if something goes wrong in that box, well, you're kind of, unless you want to replace components, you're stuck. You got to get another one. My preference is to put in charge controllers, multiples if I need, because you can. And then my own inverter, my own components, so that if something goes wrong with one of those individual items, I could just replace that one item. And if I have spares, well, I can just put the spare in and keep on going. So anyway, that's my thoughts there. Jackery 5000 does not keep the expansion port hot at all times. Wow. Yeah, so there's a way probably around that. That one uses a 72-volt battery, really? Wow. Yeah, so they're messing around. But I bet you there's a CAN bus in there that's doing that. Like you probably have to just put a resistor in somewhere and you could turn it on. But the problem is if it's using 72-volt batteries, well, I don't even know what that is. So Douglas, glad you love your Pecron. Did you get your Bluetooth app figured out? I'll tell you, I was having trouble with my Bluetooth on my Opus and on my rock lights on my Jeep. We do a lighted Christmas tree run every year, and so we light up our rigs. I think I might have a picture here somewhere. And we go out and we light up the rigs and spread Christmas cheer. It's just kind of a fun thing we do. And so a lot of times I'll put my rock lights on, which are lights that are underneath your rig so that you can see the rocks and things under your rig. And I mean, typically it isn't that I need to see rocks. I actually run them for something else. I run them for come on, Eric, get your brain in gear. I'm trying to find a picture for you here. I run them for putting chains on in the middle of winter, actually. Okay, where'd it go? There it is. There you go. So all those lights, all those lights are on. Those are all running off of like my power station. And then that one doesn't show the rock lights. Let me find my rock lights. So rock lights just go underneath the rig so that you can see things under your rig. And it makes a big difference when you're out in the woods. Oh, I know what I can show you. Let me see. I got one I can show you. I was up at my cabin last year, almost a year ago. It was in, I think, March of last year. And I got into some bad weather. It was terrible, terrible weather, folks. And I needed to get out of there in a hurry. It was not good. We had about 1.5 feet plus of snow, and it started raining. And I had spent 3 hours plowing, trying to get my driveway cleared. And that's a big driveway, right? You're talking probably close to half a mile. And so I'm doing everything I can to try to get this thing cleaned up so that I can get out of there. And it just got so bad, folks. It was terrible. It was so sloppy that I finally decided on Saturday night I was going to leave. And I almost didn't make it out. It was terrible. And so I'm coming out of there in the middle of the night. It's dark, raining, snow everywhere. It was miserable. But I could put all those lights on. And when you put all those lights on, now you can see. And I can't seem to find that picture either. Here I am. Oh, wait, here we go. Nope, that's not it. Dang it. Well, you'll see rock lights here anyway. So this is what they look like. But for this story, so you see that green underneath the Jeep on the right, those are rock lights, and you can have them different colors. So anyway, I was coming out of the cabin and it was just miserable. But I got down to the bottom of the hill, dark, raining, icy, snow, and my neighbor was down there because they couldn't get up the hill. And so I told him I needed to get my chains off. He's like, "Oh, I'll help you." And I said, "Just a minute." And I threw on my rock lights, and he was like, "What?" This is so cool because they sit right above your tires. Anyway, I run. So what my point is, the Bluetooth app was, I'm out doing this jingle run, and all of a sudden I can't communicate with anything over Bluetooth. I couldn't get my Opus to work, and I'm running the Opus DC charger, which was the beta version of the DC charger. So whenever it completely shut down and turned back on, it defaulted back to factory specs. And again, that's the beta version, so not the way the one that they produce now is supposed to be. But that could be a problem because it could drain your battery and things like that, or push your alternator a little too hard if you don't want it to. So I had to try to figure it out. Well, I ended up having to reboot my phone, and then I could connect to everything again. I think my Bluetooth just got messed up. So if you have Bluetooth trouble, reboot your phone. That's the moral of that story. Golf cart batteries into the PV port. Yep, that'll work. 50 amp hours. Okay, that makes sense. Let's see. It is an all-in-one. Okay, I'm trying to catch up to you guys now. Minuteman Solar just put out a review. Price good and can do 240 if get another one. Oh, is that the Pecron? I need 4,000 because of my deep well pump. Yep, that's where you need not just 4,000, but then low frequency too. I'll go check out MMS, Minuteman Solar. Yeah, you want low frequency if you're doing that, guys. I mean, pumps are going to put that induction load on there, and they could be 7 to 10 times more than they're rated. So you might have a pump that's rated at, say, 500 watts, but it could draw like 5,000, and you need that low frequency inverter to handle that. Yeah, that's one. What do you say? Oh, just added them to the bus bars. Yeah, I mean, you can just add inverters easily enough. I mean, if you've got bus bars, you can actually do the Hollywood lights. I love it. Oh, good. You got the Bluetooth working. Awesome. Just had to hit the correct password. Works great, except for the ice and snow here on my 280 watt panel. Yeah, that'll do it. What's a mesh-tastic? Tell me what a mesh-tastic is. Well, Douglas, that's awesome. That means you guys can down, get your profile on your charging down a little bit. So that's good. All right. So I think I said I was going to look at some of the questions tonight. And so again, if you've got questions, absolutely throw them in the chat so I see them. But I was thinking that I would look at questions and kind of talk about a few of these questions that I got. So one of them, the first one I was going to look at here, in fact, I can pop them up for you guys, and just thought it might be kind of fun to go through these. The first one was, can you leave your solar panel connected to your power station for extended periods of time? Well, yeah, absolutely. Though one caveat with that is, if you're running things off of that power station and they draw more than what your solar can give you, well, it's just going to drain and kill everything. So I mean, if everything's basically off, but your solar, and you expect to have sun enough days that it's not going to just kill itself in idle or shut down, yeah, should be perfectly fine. I run my solar power on all the time, 365, 24/7. It doesn't matter whether I'm there or not, and I'm generally not there right now. Especially with my back, winter can be a little bit treacherous for me. I can't afford to slip and fall. I do go up there, but I go up with friends. I don't live there anymore. I'm just a part-timer up there now. But it doesn't matter if I'm gone for a day or 2 months. My batteries are always getting a charge from solar every single day. Though I will tell you that I also have a little draw on my batteries every day as well, which is better than not. I have two big 120 millimeter fans running that push the air down, the hot air down in the back room where the batteries are, to keep the batteries above 50 degrees, and the composting toilet as well. And then I have another one that's in the composting toilet 4-inch stack. It's got a 90 millimeter fan that runs off 12 volts. So those items are always running. And of course, your charge controllers draw a little bit of power as well. I just turn the inverter off. So somebody asked if I tried to factory reset on the FuzzyBot. No, I did not. The screen was really messed up. FuzzyBot said they think it needed to be replaced or repaired, and they wanted it sent back. So it's what I did. Nobody mentioned anything to me then about doing a reset. I don't know. It might have worked, but they haven't said anything. They've got the unit and they have not told me, oh yeah, we found this is wrong. So, let's see. I have 352 volt rack batteries in parallel. Can I connect them directly, all three on at the same time in parallel to the solar port on the Anchor 3600 or 3800? So any power station solar input can take batteries as long as your batteries are not greater than the maximum voltage of the solar input. So if the solar input is 48 volts, well then no, you cannot use 51.2 volt batteries. Though most of them are higher, but your small power stations like the old Jackery 550 I have, its maximum is I think 30 volts. So you can use a LifePo 4 24 volt battery or a 12 to 24 volt step up converter. It works perfectly fine. And I've done that and done it for days at a time, and it works fine. Done it for days at a time without fuses too. I know that's going to make some people upset. The charge controller draws what it's going to draw. Something can melt down. Will the power station turn off the battery supply when the battery voltage drops below a certain amount to protect the battery? No. If you're connected to the solar input, the charge controller or the power station doesn't know it's drawing from a battery. It thinks it's getting it from solar, which is unlimited. It's not. It's just going to ignore the battery when it drops below the minimum voltage. I would not use lead batteries. That's one thing I get asked a lot. Can I use my lead battery? I say no, don't do that. They're just going to ruin them. Honestly, you're going to ruin lithium-ion batteries too. Not LifePo 4s. They're fine. Lithium-ion is different than LifePo 4s, which is lithium ferrous phosphate. I know guys hate it when I call them LifePo 4 too, but that's what I call them. So too bad. It's LIFEPO 4, LifePo 4. I'm a very phonetic person, but anyway, don't use lead or frankly lithium ion. I wouldn't do that either. Let's see, rain downspouts for cans on a heater. They do work, of course. So I'm going to talk briefly about the pop can solar heater, because I think there's a little confusion about that. And for those of you that aren't into that one, don't worry, I'll get past this one quickly. The reason I built my pop can solar heater the way I did was because the research that I had done suggested that the shape of the pop cans created turbulence in the air, and that actually helped slow the air down a little bit so it would absorb more heat from the pop cans, which almost instantly transfer the heat. So the idea was to create as much heat as possible, which obviously worked because it melted down. So there you go. All right. No license, no FCC. What do you mean by you need a mesh tastic? Okay, you're confusing me there, Freedom Rocks. I don't know what you mean by no license, no FCC. Help me out here. How about that F3000 battery hack? Do you need a breaker on the line? When's the battery connection? The 24 volt battery won't work on the XT60 port. Okay, so that's two things at once. So the F3000 battery hack is coming. I mentioned it early on today in this video, or this live. I actually have the cable now. I have an XT60 or XT120, sorry, to the older style plug that goes into like the 1500 LFP, the big black one that I hacked actually. So I have that now, and I will be first trying to connect two power stations together. Then I'm probably going to do a middle hack on the cable, and then see about using the cable with the middle hack and not connected on the other end versus connected on the other end with the middle hack. So I have some plans for that. As for connecting a 24-volt battery to an XT60 port, yes, that should work as long as it's the XT60 solar input port, which I noticed that Pecron did. I complained about their old style solar input. Now, I didn't even catch this on my review video because I was mentioning that with a little box of tricks that I got from them, that if they, if you had that weird Pecron solar input, you could convert that. Well, they actually got rid of it and they went to an XT60. So kudos to them. And yes, you could take a 25 volt LiFePO 4, plug it straight into, and by 25 volt, I mean, what's that? 25.6 volts, right? But you could plug that directly into that XT60 and that should work fine. I think their max on those is, no, I don't know. It's more than 60. So it should be good. Remove the air disturbances. Air moves faster, pulls away more heat, no melting down. Yeah. So Mikey, you're probably right. And I think that those that are using like rain down spouts or things like that on those heaters, they probably just don't have that problem. I actually still think it'll work, and I have it in my shop now, and I'm going to be tearing that down and taking a much closer look at it. And if I can keep the can tubes, then I will. I'll save them all. I'll still use the can tubes. I mean, that thing, it can get hot, but that's why I need to fix the little issue I had. Once I got rid of the problem of stopping the air, and now there's been so many suggestions on my video that I can do simple baffles, like a piece of tin foil or something in there. I mean, the stuff that people suggested, I was like, that is so easy, right? A piece of tape and some paper over the the back of it, and that'll baffle it and stop the air from going backwards. And for those that don't know, the reason I melted down my heater is because if you haven't seen the video, is because I was trying to baffle reverse flow at night, because what can happen at night with these type of heaters, they're called pop can solar heaters, and basically you put a bunch of pop cans in a box and put a glass over it or whatever and a couple holes in it. The sun hits it, the cans heat up, the air starts moving, and it warms up your room. It's brilliant. The problem I had was that at night the air could go in reverse. The warm air at the top of the room would go out and then cool down outside and come up through the floor. So I put a baffle in it. That worked fine for a little while till I burned out the motor on my fan. And lots of people pointed out I put the fan in the wrong place, and I never thought of it, but I put it on the hot end, which I guess is a bad idea, burned the fan out. And then because the baffle was too hard for it to open, I think, and it was in the heat all the time. And so the baffle closed, no fan. The thing just got so hot that it melted the insulation that I had in there, which was like 300-degree insulation. And I mean, and it disintegrated it. Bye, see ya, disappeared. It literally vaporized the insulation. It's stunning to me how hot it must have gotten. I can't believe it didn't catch on fire. Right? I mean, it's crazy. So I'm going to be rebuilding that. I think that'll be fun. Back to Douglas's question about the battery hack. Do you need a breaker on the line when it's a battery connection? So here's the thing. Should you have a breaker on the line is maybe a better question. You can parallel two batteries together with no fuses or breakers or anything else, but they should be run to a disconnect of some sort between the batteries and the inverter. And since you're dealing with a power station and not just straight do-it-yourself solar, I would say it's a good idea to put a breaker between the battery that you're going to connect to the power station and the power station itself. I also think you should put a fuse, like a T-class fuse. All that extra protection is fairly inexpensive, but it's a good idea. I've already tried to blow up a battery once or twice, and it created the spark show that went with it. And I think it's important to do that, right? So I would say it depends on the batteries too, right? My Vatra batteries have their own breakers built into them. So I think if you were using a Vatra server rack battery, you already got a breaker. Put a fuse in it, you should be good to go. And that's the way I have them running to my all-in-one system. They both have breakers. I don't think I'm going to bother to put another breaker in there. I mean, at the cabin, I do have a breaker between my batteries, but they don't have breakers. They have on-off buttons that kind of seem to work pretty well, kind of, but they're not breakers. There's a difference between an on-off button and a breaker, right? An actual breaker, that's different, and that's what the Vatras have. So the XENYs, the lead times, those don't have breakers. They've got on-off buttons. So you should put a breaker between those and your power station. I would also, again, put like a terminal type fuse, T-class fuse, but at least on one side, right? Just to provide some protection for your cables. In reality, once you hook them up, it's actually just like part of the power station itself. It's like an integral part of it. So, all right. What else do we got? Anchor 3000. Yes. So this question was, can you do this with an Anchor 3000 DC? That's the add a battery to the solar port. Yeah, you could do it to any power station. Absolutely. I get a lot of questions on that one, actually. And it's every power station's pretty much the same. Is PEC run any good? Yeah, I think so. Let's see. Downspouts. Let's talked about that. Just got a warranty replacement on EcoFlow. I've had a lot of good comments about EcoFlow and warranty replacements. That's pretty good. Here's a good point. Somebody said that the Opus says that it can only take 2 expansion batteries, but of course it accepted my server batteries. Well, here's the thing. When you do this hack with the Opus or any power station where you're taking their parallel cable and then adding your own batteries, you're bypassing their CAN bus that they put in to protect things. I think the reason they limit the cascading capabilities is a combination of 2 things. One, sales, right? Like if you need 12,000 watt hours of backup or 40,000 or whatever, don't try to put all that through an Opus Mega 1, right? And I think 2 is the further you get away from the main unit, the more likely the main unit is going to draw down quicker than those batteries that are further away. And by that I mean, if you just take batteries, just regular batteries, and you connect them all up to a battery bus, and they're all, say, 6 inches apart where they're connecting to the battery bus, and then you land your inverter on one end of the bus. Well, the batteries that are closest to the inverter are going to draw down faster than the batteries that are further away, because electricity takes the path of least resistance. And I ran into this at my cabin when I first built my battery bank up at the cabin. I didn't think about that. And I thought I was being pretty cool because I was trying to build this great battery bank with these bus bars that were, done a certain way. And it worked. It worked great, except I was drawing down the nearest battery bank. And even then, I had taken my positives and negatives and put one positive on the far side and the negative on the near side of that battery bus, and it still didn't work. And so I read an article about it, and the gist of the article was, if you're going to build a battery bank and parallel batteries, you need to land them almost exactly on the same stud as your inverter's on. Now, the big battery store battery buses, they actually have 1.5 inch difference between all of them, but it's identical. The distance is the same. There's no difference from one battery terminal connection to the other. They're all the same going to the inverter, and that's the key. They have to be exactly equidistant or land them all on the same stud. It's the only way to make that work. So if you're expanding a power station where you have a cascade cable that goes from the power station to this battery, then this battery to that battery, then that battery to that battery, and so on, you have the potential to draw more off the power station itself and the nearest battery than you do the battery that's furthest away. The way they get away with that is using the CAN bus. They can program the computer basically that runs the power station to say, whoa, draw a little more off battery number 4 or number 5, right? They can program it to make sure that it's drawing off of those because they can communicate between each battery. That's the big difference between what we're doing, where we're just adding some batteries, right? And if we keep them close, you're fine. It's not going to be a problem. I think, though, that's why they say you can only do 2 versus I could put 20 on there. Let's see. Spark shows. Solar panel on my side. Yep, good. That's good. That's good. You got a breaker in there. I linked 2 golf cart batteries together. I also experienced the unbalanced draw charge would get about 10 to 15% difference between the two. Yeah, and that can happen if you have a draw off of those that is not together. That's why a lot of times what you can do with batteries in parallel is if you're running them in parallel, you could try to draw, you put your positive on one battery and your negative on the other, for like if you have 2 batteries in parallel, so that your inverter has to draw across the 2 batteries. And a lot of battery manufacturers show you that in the little book that you get. They'll tell you, connect up this way. My Opus hacks run an extra Opus battery, adding a lot more solar input. Yeah. The dumb 48-volt battery. So that's the one thing about Opus, is that those extra batteries add like 2100 watts of solar, right? So to me, the best hack is the one that Great Dane here is talking about, which is you go from the Opus Mega 1 to one of the expansion batteries, but you split the cable in the middle and then connect up your batteries into the center of that thing so that you can run big solar off of that, that expansion battery that's made by Opus. You're basically buying a charge controller with a battery, and it's 2100 watts of solar, if I remember right. Yeah, if you can get full charge every day, yes, it should balance out. It as long as you're charging the batteries back up, it's going to charge the closest ones first. But because you're talking LifePo 4s with BMSs, the one thing that's different is that those BMSs are going to say, okay, I'm full, I'm not taking any more charge, but the other battery's not done yet, so it's going to continue to draw. Lead acid batteries don't do that. So that is an issue with lead, not so much with LifePo 4s. What other questions you guys got? I'm happy to answer any you have. See, it's just after 6, so I'm not in any hurry. I'm drinking the Not Your Father's root beer. Have you guys had that stuff? It's pretty good, actually. I had to quit drinking bourbon, so every once in a while now I still have a drink, but it's usually something soft. All right, let's see what else we got here. Did I throw this back up? Let me add this back up. I'm just going through some of these questions, seeing what else we have. Let's see what I was wondering. Apparently the communication lines aren't essential, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's kind of what I was just talking about. The communication lines on those expansion batteries are not essential in the sense that they are if you want to communicate with something. I actually suggested to Opus that what they should do is make a cable and have it just battery to battery parallel. Maybe put a switch in there or something, and then add a CAN bus connection to the Opus, so that if you've got like these batteries like the XCMY golf cart battery or the lead times and many others, a lot of them have CAN bus connectors themselves. Boom, run a cable between the two. Now the Opus can communicate with your Vatra server battery and knows that it's there. And if they did that, I think they'd win that war. Let's see. The Opus Guardian 6000 doesn't use the expansion batteries with the extra solar. Big miss from Opus. Yeah, that's too bad. It looks like reviewers really like the 6000. So, I mean, it's too bad they don't do that. But if it's got enough solar on the 6000, that would be great. So like the Jackery 3600 only has 1,000 watts of solar. And you can like expand that thing to like 10 or 12 kilowatt hours. Well, what the hell are you going to do with 1,000 watts of solar in a 12 kilowatt hour system? That's crazy. If you're going to do that, and a good example too is AFRI. The AFRI expansion batteries do not have solar ports. Well, come on, guys. If you're going to do that, then at least give me access to charge up that separately then, right? Because I'll just hack that system and not use your battery, plug in my batteries and throw a charge controller on the batteries and run my own solar. Heck with you guys, right? Like, come on. I mean, then why even do a power station? Just throw in an inverter. So that's, to me, they need to step up that kind of stuff. 2100 on the Opus, yeah. Are you going to get your hands on a Guardian 6000? I don't know. I have not asked them for one. I could, but I have not. I'm going to tell you guys a secret in the YouTube world. So if you're wondering how YouTube works, I'm going to give you a little secret. How many views you get per month determine what companies are likely willing to offer you. So if you get 100,000 views a month, which is a lot, you're not getting an Opus 6000. If you get 500,000 views a month, you probably are. If you're at 200 to 250,000, yeah, you may, but you may not. And it really comes down to that. They're businesses. They're in the business of making money. So they look at YouTube channels based on the amount of viewership each channel has, so that they can kind of gauge, right? If I give this power station to this guy, especially someone like me, because I've got stringent requirements, right? Like I will not sign a contract. I'm not doing contracts. I've done it a couple times, hated it, won't ever do it again. And even then, when I did it, I said, but I've got to be honest, right? And that is my requirement. Companies don't always like that. And, so number one, no contract, no agreements. I got to be honest. You send it to me. I'm going to tell what I think, and that might not be very nice. That's number one. So for me, Opus likes me because I've sold a lot of Opus Mega 1s and B2 cables. I could probably get one, but honestly, if I get one, I'd have to have a reason for me to get it in terms of what can I do with it that you'd want to see, right? Like, in other words, if I get a power station to review, usually I don't want to just review them. I'd rather do something different with them. And if it's just for a review, I'm going to give it away. So, I don't know what I would do with it. And so I do shy away from I turn down better than 95% of all the offers I get. The ones that I even remotely might consider, I send them something that says, no contract, you're going to have to pay me, which I do require. So full disclosure. If you see paid programming, either it's because they gave me something, because you have to say it's paid programming, whether they give you money or not. If somebody sends me that little Volt Rush battery right there that you just put water in and make it work, even if that's a $50 item, you still have to say paid programming. That's a FCC requirement. So that's number one. Number two, you pay taxes on that. Now, a lot of guys will say, well, that's free. Yeah, it's only free in the sense that I didn't have to pay any money for it. But the truth is, I might put in 40 or 50 hours this coming week on YouTube. So is it really free? If I don't take it, then maybe I don't have to do that. Right. So it's kind of at the point I am on YouTube, it's a business. It's all business now. I still do what I want to do, and that's going to make the difference. That's why I don't necessarily do reviews. Blue Eddy's come to me 5 times now. The last time Blue Eddy came to me, I said, yeah, sure, I'd love to. Here's my requirements. And they went, oh, yeah, no thanks. So, by the way, anybody you see that reviews Blue Eddy probably signed an agreement that they wouldn't say anything bad about Blue Eddy. Think about that. Because they won't send it to me. And I'm saying I won't have any requirements. You send it to me, that's fine. If I find something wrong, I'm going to tell people about it. So, I think that's one of the things you'll see. Now, I do get over 200,000 views a month. So I'm big enough in that sense that companies do come to me, but most of the time I turn them down because I'm not always interested I'm not a review channel. Right. I do reviews, but usually it's because I'm trying to help you out. That's all. I was having this little insight for you. I was having this conversation with my wife earlier today. when I was a kid, my heroes were not firefighters and, policemen and all those kind of things. They were actually Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Archimedes. I know I was a geek, right? I wanted to know as much as I possibly could, and I wanted to share it. And that's what got me really into doing YouTube, is I like to share information. So yes, it's a business for me. I do make money doing YouTube. It's true. Anybody at my level does. If they say they're not, they're lying to you. And of course they are, right? I mean, why would you spend 40 or 50 hours a week making videos if you don't make a few bucks? It wouldn't make any sense at all. I wouldn't do it. I mean, who would? You could do a lot more. Why would you work? It's like saying, I work, but I don't get paid. Anyway, so anyway, 6,000 maybe someday, but not yet. And if I do, it would be because I want to do something crazy with it. Opus sold 3,000 new Guardian. Yeah, well, I think Solar Lab and I think Will Pros did a video on the 6,000. They liked them. I'm wondering if there's a hack available for the AFRI P310 extension cable around. Yep, I should be. I'd love to use that instead of the solar input with my 48 volt LiPo 4. Yes, so keep an eye on my channel. The P280 is very similar, should be able to give you the right idea. And the FozzieBot F3600, when I get that back, isn't exactly the same. They're not the same company, but they are made in the same factory using, I think, the same batteries and things like that. Cases, a lot of stuff's the same. So I intend to look very closely at that. But I'll tell you the secret right now. Take your multimeter, your voltmeter, meter, and take the 2 leads, stick them on the expensive battery leads, the big ones that are coming out of that AFRI. If you've got 57 or 53.7 volts when it's fully charged, you are golden. You are golden. If it's turned off and you have that, you're even more golden. But if it's turned on and you have that, you're golden. Then yes, you can hack that 100% guaranteed. If you have no voltage at all when it's turned on, then there's still possibility, but you probably need to use a resistor or something like the EcoFlows. But my last test, I want to say it was on the P280. I got voltage on the unit, and I don't even know if it was turned on yet. So take your multimeter, stick it on the port. If you see voltage there and it's 100% charged and it's 53.7 volts, then you can parallel a 51.2 volt LiPo 4. It's important to know that 48 volts is the nominal, meaning that's what they call them. But the actual voltage needs to be verified because there are different batteries in that category. Some of them are like 49 or whatever. Some are 51.2. It's the 51.2 that at 100% is like 53.7 volts. And so that's the one you want. If your AFRI says 53.7 at 100%, and you've got a 53.7 at 100% LiPo 4, which is your 48 volt LiPo 4 battery, you can parallel those absolutely no sweat. That is the key. That's the only requirement there is, guys. I could do battery hacks on every manufacturer's power station out there, but it's always the same. Do I have voltage? Yes, I do. Okay, I'm good. If I don't, okay, now how do I get voltage? And that's where your resistors come in on the EcoFlow products. Dihole DC main 125 amp breaker is also a fuse. No, it's a breaker. So fuse and breaker, different things. You could use the 125 amp breaker. You're looking for a T-class fuse. If you look on Amazon, a Blue Sea, I think, is the one I'm using. I put them in some of my video links, but if you look on Amazon, look T-class fuse. And you want a fuse for the cable. So if you're using a cable that can do 100 amps, then you want 125 amp fuse. But you want to be able to run that 100 amps. That's what the cable's for. But you don't want to go 25% over that. Caught alive, Buddy H. Happy New Year, buddy. Breaker is like a reusable fuse. Kind of. Yeah, a little bit different. T-classes are fast. They're faster too. How big of a system you need for a house running 120, 240, a 5-ton air conditioner? Dale, a really, really big, expensive system. So I'll tell you, the thing with me is I don't do big household systems. My interest in solar was remote cabins in the woods, getaways, hideaways, bug out locations, whatever you want to call them, hunting cabins, off-road vehicles, RVs, that kind of stuff. Smaller systems. The big systems, Solar Lab, Will Pros, those are good guys to look at. I can tell you that knowing how big of a system you need with a 5-ton air conditioner, oof, you're talking big inverter, big low frequency inverter. And the first thing you do, take your power bill, look at your power bill, see how many kilowatt hours you run per month. If it's a big house, it could be anywhere from 45 to 85,000 kilowatt hours. It's like 85, I don't know, a lot. Take that, divide that by how many days in that billing period. So like a lot of times power companies will bill you for like 29 days, 33 days, whatever. Just divide whatever they say you use by that many days. That tells you your daily usage. Turn that into, multiply that by 3 to give you 3 days of autonomy, or 5 for 5 days. That tells you how big of a battery bank you need. If you're trying to run a big house, I mean, those big systems, unless you're really good at sourcing stuff, you could be looking at $80,000 to run a big house, right? I mean, it's not cheap. So that's beyond what I do. Love to help you out, but it's just not my area. All right. The thing with the expansion batteries, I would never take advantage of all the solar available. 2,100 per battery times 6 equals 12,600 watts of solar. Not realistic, in my opinion. Yeah, not realistic with a 2,000 watt inverter. Yeah. I'm at 10 kilowatt hours at the cabin. I'll have 3,000 watts of solar by the time I'm done this spring. I've got over 2,400 watts now. I don't need more solar. I can run on what I've got right now. But having a little bit more on darker, cloudier days is certainly going to help, and certainly going to help in the summertime. But I mean, that's a ton of 12,600 watts. You might as well have an inverter that's a 12,000 watt inverter and be running that 5-ton air conditioner then. Nice seeing you folks. Got to run. Hey, good night, buddy. Have a good night. Jasonoid hacked all the Blue Eddies. Nice. Yeah, now I will tell you this. He probably did those on his own, but Blue Eddy, they seem to be pretty adamant that you've got to sign a contract with them and play nice with them, and I won't do that. So I'll let Jasonoid and the others do those. Now I'm sure that on the hacking ones, he didn't do that on those. Bingo. That's honor and integrity and not selling us all. Yeah. Well, that's it, buddy. It's got to be. Let's see, a soft start on my 2-ton 7,200 watt Jackery to start it. Yeah, I mean, five tons is big. I mean, I had a 5-ton in my house that was a 2,600 square foot house, and I probably am running 5 tons on the house I'm in now, which is over 3,000. And I mean, that's a big load. My shop isn't quite that big, but that's a lot. Yeah, I need to put a soft start on the one I have at the cabin, but honestly, they're so expensive. I think the soft starts are more expensive than the bloody air conditioning was. So I might just buy the newer, better air conditioners. Half price helped sell that many. See, Will Pros had issues with his G6. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Opus sent him that 6,000 and asked him to find trouble. Well, I'm telling you something about Will Pros. Will Pros, his terms of conditions is I will find problems, and if I don't, then I'm going to keep looking and try to find more problems. And I love that about him, right? He's just being upfront. I'm going to try to break your shit, and then if I can't break it, I'm going to keep trying to break it, and if I still can't break it, I'm going to watch other people to see if they broke it so I could try to break it that way. I like that, actually, because, and I do it differently than he does. I'm not going to tear him apart and everything, but I'm going to push him. I mean, I've just done the 3rd complete drawdown on an AFRI P280, and I'm going to draw that thing all the way down, and I'm looking at picking up some more heaters so I can run even more power. But like the Fuzzy Bot, did I break it? I don't know. Maybe I did. I mean, I don't know. But I ran that thing at 2,000 watts on its inverter until it was completely drained. That's hard on these units. These little high frequency inverters are not really meant to run, if they tell you it's a 3,000 watt inverter, well, it's not really meant to run 3,000 watts for the next 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever. It's really not meant. They're really meant to run a few hundred watts to 1,000 watts, with the 1,000 watts being your refrigerator peaking, and the rest of the time, running 100 to 200 or 300 watts, because they don't have a lot of reserve power. They're not the most expensive inverters. They're there to provide you some backup to work great when you go camping or whatever. That's it, right? These are not like building a system like I have at the cabin. So I think it's important, and I probably pushed that system a little harder than they expected. So, all right. Opus sent him that 6,000 and asked him for trouble. They already sent him a new one. The one he got was faulty. Oh, and that could be that. I mean, that could very well have been. I think he does consulting work too, but just checked in. I'm at work. Oh, hey, Renajong. All the best and wishes to all. Yeah, and Happy New Year to you. Full Draws, love your channel. Thanks, Full Draws. I appreciate it. All three of their models. Stop start's only a couple $100. Oh, yeah. Well, I think I paid a couple $100 for the inverter I have. I have the Ocatel P2001 Plus, which is load continues with DC on. They have an updated firmware, but it's sending out individual per request through app. Overall update, no reply. Interesting. My soft start was 250. Money well spent. My 2-ton only pulls 1,800 to 2,000 watts when it's running. 4,000 watts of solar more than keeps up with it. Yeah, well, that's nice. So if I don't just get a new AC unit, which I'm not cheap. I just don't like to spend money. I don't have to. So since I have it, I may just get a soft start. Why not? I mean, good video content, right? But there are better AC units than the one I got. And so I need to look at that too. I also need to look at where I had my AC at the cabin, because it worked, but could have worked better. So I really should put it up in the loft, and that might work better up there. Currently running D2 Max and a transfer box with 4 48-volt 100 amp hour batteries to supplement when the power goes out. Wow. Yeah, 4 is 20,000. Yeah, 20,000 watt hours. Nice. That's good. I mean, loud. Are you yeah, no, I knew what you meant about Jasonoid. I knew he'd hacked them all. And that's good. And I guarantee you that Blue Eddy didn't pay him to hack their stuff. But what I was talking about, companies like Blue Eddy, is that if you see somebody doing videos on their stuff, they signed a contract. Almost guaranteed. Will Pros won't. I won't. But a lot of those guys will. And that's okay. Nothing against them if they do. It's just that if you find a problem, it can be a challenge. So I will tell you that I've done, I said earlier, I've done 2 contracts. One of them was Jackery, actually. But when I did that one, I explicitly made sure that they understood that I could say whatever I wanted. I'm not going to be tied down, or don't send me the product, period. So their contract was a little bit different. I think the only issue they had was, if you have a manufacturer's defect, give us a chance to fix it first. I think that's legitimate. And that is basically what I told FuzzyBot. No contract. I said, look, I mean, these things happen. It could have got bounced around in shipping. I don't know what happened. I can't say that. I cannot say that the issue I had with the screen was an issue that all of your units are going to have. I can't say that. I don't know that. And it's entirely possible, because it happened so quickly, that it was a manufacturer's defect. So just replace the unit. We'll move on. I'll continue to test it. But I can tell you what, when I get the new one, I will beat the hell out of it, because I want to know now, right? We'll put some more draw through it. We'll drain that thing until it starts smoking. Thank you for your shirt. Oh, well, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. I assume that is a correct greeting for you. Sure. Enjoy your content. Keep up the great work, sir. You appreciate it. Hey, thanks, Dennis. I appreciate it. I'm not sure which greeting you mean. Old Jarhead? Yeah, that's fine. Eric, Old Jarhead, Devil Dog, Marine. It doesn't matter. Hey, you. Actually, the Old Jarhead's kind of funny. I don't know if you guys know the story of why I went with the Old Jarhead. Goes back a long time, actually. When I was in the Marine Corps, I was not an old jarhead. Although I went in, I was older than many of my peers. I turned 21 in boot camp. But I had a friend who we used to call Ye Old Awesome One. And his name was Ron Molash. And Ron was just one of those really tougher than nails. That guy was just tough and strong as an ox. Wasn't really big, like he was maybe 5'9", barrel chested, kind of built like an ogre or something. I love you, Ron. But just tough. Like he was the guy that if you were in a fighting hole and a tank was coming at you and you ran out of ammo and all you had was a K-bar, you wanted Ron to be the one that would take the K-bar and go take on the tank. So Ron was Ye Old Awesome One. And then he ended up Ye Old Awesome Crispy Scabby Holy Crispy One. Long story short, he got burned up in a couple fires saving people, had surgery that put a hole in his arm and wiped out a motorcycle in shorts and a tank top. So we actually got him a shirt, said Ye Old on the front, and on the back it said Crispy Scabby Holy Crispy Scabby One or whatever. But so that kind of was the beginning of things. And then I got out of the Marine Corps, and I was out of the Marine Corps for over 5 years. And I needed some kind of training. So I ended up, despite being really sick from my service in the Gulf and pretty badly beat up from my service, I ended up going back in the service and I went into the Army. And I went in for telecommunications, network switching systems. And it was when I was in the Army, guys would call me an old jarhead because by then I was 31 years old. And I had to go in as a PFC. So because they had a freeze on E4 ranks, and I had gotten out of the Marine Corps as an E4, which was corporal. So in the Army, I went into the Army as a PFC, and I had like 3 rows of ribbons, right? From Desert Storm and all the stuff I'd done in the Marine Corps. And when I went, and I had to go get uniforms, I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and got uniforms. And then when I traveled from South Carolina to Fort Gordon, Georgia to go to school, I had to take a bus, and you're traveling in your Class A uniform. So you've got your green, jacket on, green trousers, shiny shoes, your cover. We used to call those piss cutters, the ones that kind of go like this. And, you're in your dress uniform, not the blues, just your green dress uniform. And I was traveling by Greyhound, and this drunk got on the bus. And so this drunk's on the bus and he's harassing the driver. So somehow, I don't remember what happened, but somehow I ended up removing the guy from the bus. And I got blood on my uniform. I don't remember what happened there. Just I removed the guy from the bus at the request of the bus driver, I might add. I think he saw that he had this guy in uniform there and needed some help. And I'm a Marine, so I gave him some help. So I show up at Fort Gordon, Georgia, get in a taxi, take the taxi onto base, and I get to the barracks that I got to go to for my training. And this Army drill sergeant comes out. We don't call them drill sergeants in the Marine Corps, by the way. They're drill instructors. But I didn't need those because I was already a Marine. You don't need any more boot camp. And so this guy comes out, and the cabbie looks up at him, and he goes, "Hey, drill sergeant, this guy right here, he's a real soldier. He's got more ribbons than you do." And I thought, oh, great. Here I am standing here with blood on my uniform, which as a Marine is bad news, right? That's not cool. That is bad. So, and that drill sergeant's like, "Oh, he's a trainee to me." He had like 3 ribbons. I had like 9 or 10. And so anyway, here I am. I'm in this Army, they call it Advanced Individual Training, their AIT. And we just call it MOS school in the Marine Corps. And I'm in this school, and I'm living in a different barracks with all the other prior service guys. They keep you separated. They don't want you anywhere near the new troops. But you go to class, with the new troops, and the new troops would always call me the Old Jarhead. And so that is actually where that came from. And then back in the 90s, we started getting into forums, right, online. And so I started using the nickname Old Jarhead or Old Jar or something like that as a nickname on forums. And so when I was doing YouTube in the early days, and I started YouTube around 2010 for my grandsons, it was just under my name. But I would tell guys on these forums, hey, just go look at my YouTube channel. I'll show you what I'm doing on my sawmill or whatever. And then I realized it would be easier if I just changed my YouTube channel to the Old Jarhead, so that if you were on like forestry forum and I was talking about sawmilling and I did a video on doing something, you'd know to just go look up the Old Jarhead. Or if I was on the country plans forum where I was talking about doing power for my cabin and putting in my solar power and all, you could just go look at the Old Jarhead on YouTube. So that's where that comes from. So you can call me anything you want. All that comes out of that. Well, now you're old and there's no we're a jarhead. That's another thing. Jarheads are never past tense. You're just no longer serving in the Marine Corps. Still a Marine, always a Marine. Yeah, you never change that. Where should be an hoorah. That's right. I did basic at Jackson and AIT at Gordon. Avionics. Oh, there you go, Mikey B. Yeah. So you know right where I'm talking about. Now, Jackson, I'm gonna tell you a little story. Sorry, if you guys are getting bored of my old Army Marine stories. When you go to Marine Corps boot camp, they tell you right off the bat, you don't take anything with you. You leave it all at home. You can have a t-shirt, pair of jeans, skivvy drawers, socks, shoes, done. You don't need a watch. If you're wearing one, too bad, you're going to get rid of it. You need your identification. You don't need a whole lot of anything else. Don't be coming here with a suitcase. And when you go into boot camp, they take it all away. And the only thing they might let you keep once you get there, you literally box it all up and it's gone, is if you've got a good pair of running shoes, they'll let you keep those. That's it. Everything else is gone until you graduate. And it's not fun. It's not something you want to repeat anytime soon, right? You're a Marine Corps boot camp. You're thinking, what the hell did I sign up for? I didn't want to go to jail. Well, when I went to Fort Gordon, Georgia, it was in 1996. I'd been out of the Marine Corps since 91. And it was time to go in and get some training because I was really good at shooting things and blowing things up, and I could fix a light armored vehicle, but I really wasn't good at doing anything else. So I needed some training. And so I went into the Army in 96 and I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, sorry. And I had to get on a bus at the airport. And that made me nervous because I was getting on the bus with all these kids that were going into their basic training. And as a Marine, having gone to boot camp, I know what happens on the bus on your way to the base. And when you get to the base, I know what happens on the bus. And I don't want to be any part of that. There isn't a hair on that head, what little I have left, that wants to be any part of being on a Marine Corps bus going into boot camp with a bunch of kids that are going to boot camp. It's just, you don't want to be there. So I'm thinking, this is not good. I'm in the wrong place. Somehow I'm on the wrong bus. But I also noticed that they had suitcases. And I thought, what's in the suitcases? How do you go to basic training with a suitcase? I mean, how many clothes are you bringing? You don't get to wear them. I mean, why would you bring a suitcase full of clothes when you ain't going to see a piece of civilian clothing for the next 3 months, right? That's just what's going on in my mind. Although I guess Army basic's like 2 months, not 3 months. But so we get there and we're on base and I'm nervous. You got to understand, folks. If you're not a Marine, you wouldn't understand probably. Now, the Great Dane, if he's still here, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. He is still here. You don't want to be on that bus. And this drill sergeant from the Army comes on the bus and he says, hey, everybody, we need you to get off the bus. And I'm thinking, okay, this is kind of weird. This is we get to just get off the bus. Okay. This is different. So we get off the bus and he's talking about getting your gear. I don't got any gear. I'm not traveling with any gear. I'm a Marine. I might have had a second pair of skivvy drawers and a t-shirt and socks with me. Maybe. Probably not. Seriously, right? Marines, when you go through boot camp once, that's all you need. You don't need any more. You sure as hell ain't bringing all that stuff with you to go to somebody else's basic because you don't know what it's like. So we get off the bus, and I don't need to go get anything else. I don't have anything to get. And so the guy's like, yeah, okay, we'll go in this auditorium here. And I'm still a little bit shell shocked because I'm expecting the screaming and yelling and jumping up and down and gnashing of teeth and the spittle in your face and all that kind of stuff to happen really, really soon, of which I don't want to be anywhere near that when it happens because I've already done that. Been there, done that, had my head shaved, got the t-shirt, you name it. So we get in this auditorium, and there's like hundreds of kids in there. And one of these drill sergeants gets up in the front of the auditorium and he says, all right, if anybody needs to make a latrine call, go to the bathroom, go ahead, take your time. And out of the like 400 that are there or whatever, like 394 get up and leave. There's about a half a dozen still sitting there, of which I was one of them. And he looks out across the auditorium and he says, and you guys are all the prior service. And he was right. He said, we do that every time. We get rid of all the kids so that we can find out what prior service guys are here, because we know there's going to be some. And here, come on, guys, you can leave. You can come with me. So it's kind of cool, but it was really different. Anyway, so yes, I'm an old jarhead. Hollywood Marine. Yeah, I'm a Hollywood Marine too. Platoon. I was platoon 3050. Mike Company, platoon 3050. I went in Mother's Day of May 10th or 11th of 1986. Graduated boot camp in August and flew home. And I was actually a 2147, which was light armored vehicle repairman, which I learned later meant scout with a toolbox. It was a brand new unit. We didn't have any scouts. Oh, never volunteer for anything. I actually volunteered for something at least once. We were in Toulon, France, and I was getting really bored of shore patrol. We were doing shore patrol there, and they said, we need 3 volunteers. And, you just don't volunteer. But I thought, nobody's putting their hand up. They're going to voluntold somebody. So I looked over at my buddy Sarniti and I said, hey, Sarniti, what do you think? Maybe we should just do this. Come on. How bad can it be, right? We're in France. It's shore patrol. How bad can it be? They're not going to put us on some stupid thing. So we're like, okay, we'll do it. So we got the 3 of us. It was me, Edie, and one other guy. Can't remember who it was. And they said, okay, go back on ship and get in your civvies, check out in M9, see us back here at 1300 hours. Okay, wait a minute. You just told me to go back and take my uniform off and put civilian attire on and check out the M9 Beretta pistol with ammo, extra magazines, and come back. Okay, now this is good. I like this. So we do all that. We come back. It had like this, it was like a room in a building somewhere in town. I can barely remember because it was 1988. It was December of 88. And so they said, all right, we're going to go to this hotel. We got a mission for you guys. And the mission was to be Loretta Lynn's bodyguard. And so the 3 of us got to hang out with Loretta Lynn for, I don't know how long it was. It was like a week or something like that. Maybe 2. I don't remember now. It was right around the time when they had the bombing in Germany of the bar in Germany with all the troops at it. And they thought, since Loretta Lynn was there in Germany at the time, that she was the target. So when she got to Toulon, she wanted a contingent of Marines as her bodyguards because she only traveled with one bodyguard. And so that was our mission, was protect Loretta Lynn. It was awesome. She was kind of like your mom. She was pretty cool. But see, I got the old Great Dane here going now. Gomer Pyle, satin greens. Yeah, so you went back a little bit before me, buddy. 79, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was still in school in 79. I graduated in 83. Sir, yes. Thank you so much for all your service to America. We love you. Hey, thanks, buddy. I loved it. I really did. I'll tell you, there's some crude sayings that Marines use about being in when they're in. F the suck was one of them. But, there was a lot to love about it. I loved it. there were times you hated it, right? There's nothing worse than being cold and wet and miserable. And or like one of the times we were in France, and not when we were in Toulon, but prior to that. And it was colder than a witch's you know what. And we had gone up to do a field op up in the middle of France somewhere. I didn't know where we were. We didn't know. We just follow along. You're just drivers following the vehicle in front of you, convoying into the middle of nowhere. And the vehicle, or our company commander, was a gentleman by the name of Captain Lloyd. And Captain Lloyd had been a lance corporal at the Battle of Quezon Valley in 1967. So a little bit older. And he had terrible arthritis. His hands would curl up like this in the morning. It was terrible. So his gunner, Sergeant Negron, used to have to massage out Captain Lloyd's hands in the morning to get him to work and warm him up for him, right? And so one morning, Sergeant Negron went outside. We were actually sleeping in this abandoned one-story building, of concrete building of some kind. Oh, no doors on it or anything. And it felt like it was like World War II or something. And so he went out and he started the vehicle, and he got the vehicle heater going with these diesel heaters, so similar to what I've been doing videos on. And they use a glow plug, same thing. And so he got this vehicle going to warm it up for the captain. And the captain came out and he heard the vehicle running, and he got mad. And so he ordered the maintenance guys, of which I was one of, although I didn't end up doing this. I was scouting more than anything, but to go and pull the glow plugs in all of the diesel heaters in the company. And we spent the rest of the winter sleeping on the ground in miserably cold weather with no heat in our vehicles, which are steel vehicles, right? Like that's like an ice box. You're basically driving around in an ice box with no heat. Oh, it was not fun. And when we got to Turkey, we were doing an op in Turkey, and I had one night, midnight or whatever, we quit the op, and I'd set up my sleeping bag on a iso mat. It's a type of mat, isometric or whatever they call them. It's like a 1/2-inch thick roll up mat. Put your sleeping bag on, insulates you from the ground. Well, I set it up to go to sleep. No shelter halves, nothing. We didn't travel with shelter halves, and we weren't allowed to sleep under the vehicles or in the vehicles. So I set myself up and went to sleep. What I didn't know is I'd set up on a little bit of a hill, just barely noticeable in it. And at night, at midnight, you couldn't see it. And just below that, probably not more than 6 or 8 inches, was a stream bed that I just didn't see. And it started raining. And I woke up in the middle of the night, laying in the middle of that stream. So you can imagine you're in your mummy bag in the middle of a stream that's now running full of water because it's pouring down rain and cold. So we ended up getting, of course, now you're fighting to get out of your sleeping bag because it's going to fill up with water and you're getting soaked, and ended up in the back of the vehicle. There was about 4 or 5 of us in the back of this LAV logistics vehicle, 8-wheel drive armored vehicle with candles lit, trying to dry off and warm up, cuddling up together, right? Because you're that cold. Oh yeah. Good times. So yeah, there are times that you don't really enjoy it. But basic in 86. Yeah, a little bit after me. Yeah, you have a good night too, Boomer in Flight. Nothing like Mount Fuji frozen to a mountain, and they call this training. Right? Old man on the ridge. Hey, buddy, nothing like good military service stories. I miss listening to my grandpa's World War I stories. Yeah, I bet. Oh, I've got a few. What time have we got, guys? Almost 7 o'clock. So we've been going for just about 2 hours. So I should probably, yes, that bag was very heavy. That was the old mountain bag without the Gore-Tex liner. You remember how they had you might have been out already. So in the late 80s, yeah, you were out in what, 85? So the late 80s, the Marine Corps anyway, started issuing Gore-Tex outer shells for the mountain bags. We didn't have those, but they started doing that sometime in the late 80s, maybe early 90s. When I first saw those, might have been when I went back in 96, because we didn't have them, right? So if you were out sleeping in the rain in your sleeping bag, you were better off making a ranger roll with a poncho liner and a poncho than you were sleeping in that sleeping bag in the rain. But anyway, Whew, good times. So first of all, what questions have you got? Have you got any more questions? Because if you do, I'd love to answer those. And you know, before I go, I always try to make sure that if there's anybody else got any questions, then you know, then we can answer those and try to get those answered for you ahead of time before I drop off. So Thomas, I'm glad you made it. Still got about 25 of you out here. So let's see, 3:50 a.m. in the Netherlands. Well, Renajong, what are you doing working at 3:50 a.m.? I'm usually waking up around 3:50 a.m. So you must be on a night shift, buddy. But I bet it's cold right now too up there. 3 years active reservist in El Monte, die to my commission, not counting against my 6-year obligation. Oh, there you go. Security guard. Oh, gotcha. Tough job. I had a friend that used to do that. I used to do I did security in the Marine Corps some different times. I did security at an armory. It got so boring. I started counting the bricks to see if I could count how many bricks there were on the building. 4 hours is not enough time to count all those bricks, let me tell you. But it does help occupy the time as you're marching around slowly, trying not to lose your mind. But what else you got, folks? Any other questions before I let everyone go? I don't want to cut you off when we could still have some questions out there. And again, thanks for watching and being here. And the new year will bring more. I'm going to get back on schedule starting Tuesday. So for members, I should have that video out Monday. Probably be posting some more for you throughout the week because I've been doing a lot of testing. And so the more testing I do, the more I'll try to share that stuff for you. I'm also thinking of doing a members live. I probably won't do a 2-hour one, but during the week sometime. So if there's a time during the week, I ask this all the time, and I may just start doing one, but I may do one like on maybe a Tuesday night, Tuesday or Thursday night. So, or afternoon. It's possible I could do it in the afternoon because I know most of you are probably East Coast or elsewhere. So if I were to do one at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that might work for you too. So homeless people, oh, that could keep you awake. But yeah, you're welcome, Great Dane. Absolutely. Well, folks, I think that's all I got for you tonight. But thanks for being here. Thanks for putting up with my old Jarhead stories. And if you have any questions in any of my videos, be sure to ask. I always try to answer them. I may not always catch up with the follow-up stuff. I try to, but of course, sometimes you just get hundreds and hundreds of them and it makes it tough. But it's easy to filter out for new ones. I do that. And if members are asking questions, I always try to do members. In fact, I was just thinking of looking to see if I missed any questions or comments by members, because that's obviously something that I need to try to keep up with. So I will be doing that. And if I see something that I missed, I'll be sure to comment there. So Terrell, good night. Y'all have a great night. And thanks, Renajon. I appreciate it. Ricketts, you bet, buddy. Happy New Year. Lots more coming. So, all right, guys, I'm going to call it a night. Y'all have a great day. And Tuesday for the non-members, Tuesday, 3 p.m. should be my next video coming out. Are expansion batteries worth it? I think that's what that one's about. Y'all have a great night. The Old Jarhead out.